Hi, my name's Phoebe. I'm 22 and I'm from North Wales. I am going to be talking about anxiety and depression, but mainly like my experiences with uh, feeling and being suicidal. So yeah, that's what we're going to talk about.
Hi, Phoebe. So me and Phoebe went to the same primary school and high school, and yeah, I'm really glad you're on to talk about this like really important topic. Um, so can you start off with explaining how you've been affected by mental health?
Yeah, definitely. So I feel like when it was at its peak, I was mainly affected, like obviously like mentally, just I was just a shell of myself. Like I wasn't really, because I think most people that know me or have known me in the past, they've got like this very like certain opinion that I'm like really like boisterous and like loud and flamboyant, which I am those things. But I think when I was going through the worst of my depression, I think I all them attributes I was like still portraying that version of me, but that's just not how I was feeling. There was such a disconnect between like my mind and my body, and it was just so unnatural for me to be acting like that. I didn't know how else to act. I didn't really understand what I was feeling or what I was going through. So my natural reaction was to just pretend, and I think that took its toll because it's exhausting. Like it's so exhausting, like putting on such like a facade and trying to like adhere to what everyone expects of you. And especially at the time, I was like working in Liverpool as a bar manager. So I had like a team of people that like relied on me for like solutions to problems, and I was completely comfortable within my job. But when like anxiety and like my like intrusive thoughts kind of started like coming at work, it was very hard, and I got overwhelmed a lot, and it just felt like there was loads of added pressure. And I feel like instead of voicing my struggles earlier to get the help that I needed, I would just try and take on as much as possible, and then I'd just break. It got to a point where like little confrontations maybe with customers that I was completely trained and like capable of dealing with. I'd be fine dealing with it, and then I would run to the back as soon as I can, and I'd just lose it, like I'd just break down. Um and yeah, it just started getting in the way of like work and stuff at the beginning. As it got worse, I was just, it's so weird to me now because thinking of how I was then, I was just so negative about everything. Like I did not want to leave my house unless I had to, and I didn't want to speak to anyone. And then it got to the point where I completely flipped it and I wanted to go out all the time because at home I was overthinking. I was just in my own pit of mess and depression. My flat was a mess because I didn't care about anything. I feel like this is something that I didn't hear a lot of before I was going through it. So like you don't care about anything about yourself, your hygiene, like how many dishes are in the sink. Like it's different from just like being lazy and can't be bothered. It's you have no consideration, like you don't care, and no one could come and see me in my house because I was so like ashamed, but I didn't have the energy or the mental like capacity to do something about it because I was just so immersed by like how I was feeling. So stuff like stuff like not showering, like it sounds so horrible for me to say it out loud now, but like I didn't shower. I would just stay in bed days and days on end, order food, like my curtains would be shut. I would just be in darkness as much as possible. And then my best friend actually moved in with me, so I had to mask a lot of the things again. So that was back going into like being exhausted all the time because putting on a face. She knew I'd be feeling a bit down, but she had no one had any idea of like the extent of what was happening. Also, I did start self-harming. So I used to cut my legs and I used to cut my wrists. And then obviously going into work, stuff on my legs I could hide easily, but when it came to my wrists, it was really scary because I didn't want obviously anyone to see, I didn't want anyone to know. So I remember once I like wrapped it up in a bandage, which is probably the most like stupid thing I could have done, because that was drawing more attention to it. People would be asking me, oh, what did you do? And I just used to make an excuse, like I put it on a piece of glass, like, or whatever. And it was just constantly just loads of lies and loads of like false truths, just like piling up. And that was making it even more, because I need to remember what story I told X, Y, and Z about whatever I was going through. So that was really hard. Now I'm a lot better. Like my coping mechanisms are a lot better. Obviously, I've been through a bit of therapy. I went through cognitive behavioural therapy. So for anyone who doesn't know what that is, it's just about changing habits and behaviours towards how you're feeling. So instead of putting, you might be encouraged to write your feelings down, or just really like just go for a walk. Anytime you have the compulsion to cut, just go for a walk, and then by the time you get back, you probably won't have that compulsion anymore. It's a lot easier for me now, because after my suicide attempt, I was forced into having uncomfortable conversations. So any conversation after stuff like that, they do become a lot easier, because obviously if you spoke about the worst and your darkest points, conversations do tend to get a bit easier. So now I do have people that I know that I can vent to. So it's been about just over a year and a half since I was in hospital. So I've not cut since, which is great. I'd be lying if I haven't thought about it completely, but I think the main thing is that I didn't consider was, after you do attempt to take your life, obviously if it's unsuccessful, then you do have a lot of repercussions that you've got to deal with. You get to see what the effects would have been on the people around you. People want to ask questions, but they feel uncomfortable. But it is just better to be as honest with them as possible. Like having to sit down with your mum and explain the reasons and reassure her that it's not her fault is like the most heartbreaking like thing. Having your grandma ring you and say, please don't like do that. Like for me, gladly, it was enough for me not to consider doing it again. So I'm thankful for that, but you do carry a lot. I feel like I carry a lot of guilt around with me. At the time, I was guilty because I was in hospital and everyone was just telling me how glad they were that I was still here, and I felt guilty because I was just like, well, I can't say the same, because obviously the outcome of my actions wasn't how I planned it out to be. So it starts off with guilt like that, and then now I just feel guilty because I feel like I've put people through a lot. So I think that's the main thing for me right now, is just healing from that, and I'm constantly trying to make up for the fact that I put them through stuff like that. So it gets easier, but there is like repercussions from it. And I think that's the like main thing that I learned from that experience. So yeah.
It sounds really difficult thing to talk about, and you know, especially because of, like you said, the feelings that are still carried with you about that. But I think that's really, really helpful for other people to hear about, and like that real experience. That's like, I never really hear anyone talk about these things. It's always portrayed in a really different way on TV, I think, as well. So yeah, thanks for opening up about that. And like, what do you wish you were told earlier that might have helped you, you know, earlier on?
I think this is the main thing about when you're depressed and you feel suicidal. It's the things that I knew, like the facts I knew and how I felt, were just kind of two completely different things that I couldn't connect with to. So it is really hard. So I knew that my mum loved me and would miss me, and my friends the same, and my whole family, and they'd be distraught. But the feeling was completely different. It was like no one, like I had voices in my head saying like, no, they'll get over it, like it's fine, like they'll be fine. So I just wish someone told me that the pain doesn't like go away, you just transfer it onto other people. So now I couldn't think of anything worse than my mum feeling that again. So I just wish, and I just wish someone told me that it's not how it is in films or on TV. Like, it's not like that. So personally, I overdosed. So the only thing, when you see it on telly, people take a few pills, they go to sleep and they don't wake up. That's what it was. So I was so naive. So in my head, that was like, right, perfect. This is what I'm going to do. And it just, it didn't work out like that. I did wake up, and luckily, because obviously I did wake up, I was like, right, if it's not done what I wanted it to do, it's doing something else like inside. So that's when I texted my friend and she rang the ambulance and so forth. But I just wish someone would have told me that it's not the answer. And I'm never gonna like sit here and be like, oh, if you feel like this, like don't do it, it's wrong, because I can't say that because I did it. But all I can say is it's not the answer, and it's not going to work out how you think it is, and you will have to deal with it on a different level. And I just wish someone told me that there's actually like other ways of coping with stuff, but you can only be open to that advice if you voice how you're feeling. So I did go for an emergency mental health crisis intervention. So I had an episode where I was like in my flat and I was just like screaming relentlessly, and I got in contact with one of my friends, Amy, and she was actually in America at the time. So she messaged one of our other friends, Ellen, and she was like, it was like 3 a.m. She was like, as soon as I wake up in the morning, I'm driving to Liverpool and we're sorting this out. So she came to my flat, we rang 111, and I had to go through like an assessment, and then they said you need to go to A&E straight away for an intervention. So we went, we were there for most of the day, and not to fault the people at the hospital that were trying to help me, but all I left with that day was like brochures and numbers to ring. And anyone that goes through depression, if you don't have the energy to seek out the help you need all the time. So for me, it was such a big step for me to sit there in the middle of a room with a stranger and pour out all these feelings and all these thoughts that I was so ashamed that I'd felt. And then now they were just giving me a number to ring. So it was just like, it made me want to close in more. So I feel like as much as professional help is great for some people and it really does work, I think now looking back at it, I get more comfort from speaking to the people that I'm closest to, because they know you as a person. They know how to speak to you and how like what resonates with you more. So I just wish someone told me that it's different things work for different people, really. Definitely look into like the avenues that are available for you. Like there's such great, especially like in Liverpool city centre, there's amazing places that you can just literally just walk into. Obviously the Samaritans have always there. I have used that service quite a few times when I wasn't quite comfortable speaking to my friends about it. Like, just research, like there's so many people out there that can help you, whether it's people that you're related to, people that you're friends with, or like help online. Like there's so many people that are willing to help you, and I think I just wish someone would have told me that, because I just felt so helpless and I didn't want to be a burden. But like you're just not a burden. I just wish someone would have reinforced that to me at the time.
Yeah, and it's just a fucking shambles, really, isn't it, that you went to the hospital and you sat there and spoke to someone and they just transferred you like a little, like, call this instead, talk to that person instead. I've had like a similar experience, and that needs to change, like, because like you said, speaking to family and friends who those who can understand or can like try to understand and be open-minded, it's great. There should be professionals who, it should be more accessible and everywhere, not just in cities like where we grew up in North Wales. I mean, yeah, we can link like the stuff you're talking about as well to the caption for people who want to look into that. yeah, what are the final things that you'd like to like destigmatize about like all your experiences?
Really just the fact that like not everyone, like when they attempt suicide, not everyone's in hysterics when they do it. It's not always like a big show where they're crying and it is a split decision. For me, I knew when I woke up that day that was the day. I still went and did all my responsibilities that I did that day, but in that night I knew when I was coming home that was going to be like, I felt like I was ready and this was it and I was ready to do it. So it's not always like a big do, and it manifests differently in everyone. So there's so many people that you could be walking past in the street and the thoughts in their head, you've got no idea of like the intensity or the extent to them. Also, like it does follow you, like you do have little things that follow you. So for example, the smell of paracetamol knocks me sick still. It's been over a year and a half. Like if it doesn't matter how much pain I'm in, I cannot bring myself to swallow one. I just can't do it. And I know it's not, I know it's in my head, but everything is like that. My whole mental illness is in my head. So I think just stuff like that, like it doesn't just leave you when you leave the hospital. You will have to like deal with stuff. And just like I'm not weak at all. Like I am a very strong-minded person and I've still got really good morals and I'm still here to help my friends. I can still be of help to people even though I've been through certain experiences, and sometimes even more so because I've had them experiences. So I never want my friends to pity me or anyone like watching this. I don't want pity because I'm not I've come so far, and feeling sorry for someone and empathizing or sympathizing with someone are two different things. So have empathy and have sympathy for things I've been through 100%. Like I've received so many like lovely messages over the past when I've spoke about my mental health in the past, and I do really appreciate it and it's lovely to hear, but like never feel sorry for someone or pity them, because there's so much strength within having a mental illness as well, because I'm still fully functioning. So many people, and even the people that aren't, even the people that are on their worst days and they can't get out of bed, the strength they have to just be existing is ridiculous. Like putting your body through just getting up every day is a mammoth task, and I can't like stress it enough. So yeah, I think that's the stigmas that I'd like to point out. Like just because I'm confident and everything doesn't mean that I'm not going through stuff. And on the flip side, don't pity people at all, because there's so much strength in having mental illness, whether you speak out about it or not. And there will come a time where you'll be comfortable speaking out about it, and it'll be hard to stop. But it's since I spoke out about it the first time, I'm so comfortable talking about it, because I've seen firsthand that it's helped other people, and I think that's my strength now. So I just really use that and propel it to other people and project it onto other people 100%.
Well, honestly, thank you so much for doing like just that. I've learned a lot right now, and I think that a lot of people will. I think it's so true, like you said, that there's such a difference between watching something to get more understanding and actually going away and like trying to even learn even more, and like feeling pity and like it's something so far away from you, because like a lot of people have said, it can get anyone at any time. So I think it's more important to have that understanding prepared for like your own or other people's experiences than being like, oh, what a shame, wonder what caused that, and like kind of distancing it from you. I think it's a really important like collective understanding that we need.
I also feel like pushing people away is like a natural response, because if you don't want to talk about what you're going through, like even now I'm just lucky that I've got such supportive friends that understand, so they'll check in on me, and if I don't reply, they don't take it personally at all. So I think as well, I have a lot of respect for my friends, because I feel like I'm a lot to deal with, because I won't respond. Like I've got 70 unopened like text messages now, and they're so good with not taking it personally, but still like remaining consistent. And I feel like if you've got a friend that is going through something like this, I think it's important that you do your own research and you try your very best to understand, because they don't always understand what they're feeling. So it's going to be hard for them to try and explain to you. So if you just, it's all like the information's there, just know like the symptoms and the side effects and the habits of someone that's going through these things, just so you, for your own like peace of mind as well. If you think they're ignoring you, they're not ignoring you, it's just the energy to do that. And also like prioritizing, as a person that still wants to be there for other people, it's just about like prioritizing and protecting your energy as well. So a problem that your friend could bring you, obviously you want to be there for them as much as possible, but if there is a point where you feel like you can't give your advice effectively because you're going through stuff, just voice that to them. I'd love to help you right now, but I just can't deal with this situation when I've not got a clear head myself. And I feel like that's what led me into my experiences, was because, so there was a lot of the start of the year where it all happened, there was two like huge bereavements in my family. So I lost my cousin, and like a month later I lost my 9. So it was a lot at the time, and I felt like I was responsible for keeping everyone in my family, like the spirits high. So I was checking in on my mum. Obviously, she just lost a nephew, and then my sister was so close with my 9, like it was ridiculous. So I had, and that was like her first her first close douse of grief. Like anyone that she'd experienced like a funeral for or anything had been like her great 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 9 or something like that. And so this was like the most immediate family member that she'd lost. So it was really trying to be strong for everyone else, and like saying I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine, because I didn't want to put the burden on other people, and feeling as though you're responsible for other people's feelings. It's not always the case. So you can still be there for people, but you do need to realize that you need to mourn and you need to heal, and your feelings do matter as well. So I think that's another like main thing that I would really stress, because that was probably what kicked off my my low moods and my depression, was just overwhelming myself with other people's feelings and then carrying on with normal life. And then like over the course of like 2 weeks, it just hit me that I had not dealt with everything that had happened. And then so it was like a delay in reaction kind of thing. So yeah, so I was just always trying to preempt negatives for other people, but just try and like deal with the things that you're going through head on as fast as you can, and just find a solution as soon as you can, because it will build up. So yeah, that's just another thing I'd add as well.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks for having me.